There is a lot of change happening in WWE right now. Most notably, we have SmackDown now moving to the USA Network after finishing their agreement with Fox Sports. And NXT, in just a couple of weeks, will be moving to the CW Network, coming off of USA Network. But SmackDown, everybody's kind of wondering what's going to happen to SmackDown, being that they're going to USA Network. Are we going to get a third hour of SmackDown? Especially after the news that Monday Night Raw is now shifting back to 2 hours for the remainder of 2024. I don't want to be the bearer of bad news, but if you don't like 3-hour shows, then you're not going to like what's happening with SmackDown. I got the latest on all that. Miro has asked for his AEW release. It's about time that happened, and a list of potential opponents leaked for John Cena for his retirement tour in 2025. All this, plus so much more on today's Off the Script, and we'll start with Friday Night SmackDown. SmackDown reportedly will become a 3-hour show in January of 2025. This is not good news. Friday Night SmackDown is set to experience even more changes after shifting from Fox to the USA Network. Last week's premiere saw a new look, new graphics. I guess if you want to say new look, how much of a new look was it really? It wasn't really that much of a new look, but it did have a new logo, new graphics, and a new theme music from Megan Thee Stallion that, in its own right, caused a little bit of riffraff, a little bit of controversy on social media. They had an overrun on Friday Night SmackDown, where SmackDown usually doesn't get an overrun because on Fox, they had a hard stop, especially here on the East Coast at 9:57 to get ready for the local 10 o'clock news. On USA Network, that season premiere saw a 5-minute overrun with Roman Reigns and Cody Rhodes. So they do have a little bit more flexibility being on USA Network. Now, Monday Night Raw will be shifting back to a 2-hour program in October, on October 7th, which hasn't been done since 2012. The show is in a gap right now between the move to Netflix, coming off of USA Network. Their deal ended this month, and then USA Network re-upped them for the remainder of the year, $25 million right to WWE. They got a home for the next 4 months, and then they shift gears to Netflix. And that kicks off, I believe, January 6th on the Netflix app. WWE made a deal with USA to keep Raw on the channel after the original deal was supposed to expire this month, like I previously mentioned. Now, USA Network made the call for the move for Raw to be a 2-hour program. When Raw goes to Netflix, according to WrestleVotes Radio, which I urge you guys to sign up via their Patreon page, great listen, WrestleVotes Radio says that SmackDown will be moving to 3 hours starting in January to go along with Monday Night Raw going back to 3 hours on Netflix. So we are looking at Raw 3 hours, SmackDown 3 hours, and NXT 2 hours on the CW. That is 8 hours of WWE programming between all three of their brands. They said yesterday on WrestleVotes Radio, and I quote, "Before we move off of SmackDown, our first real WrestleVotes tidbit here, as we get going on this backstage pass regarding SmackDown, is that we have learned that starting on January 3rd, 2025, SmackDown will indeed shift to 3 hours. The other big news here is that there are rumors that once the show ends, it will be available on Netflix, which we haven't heard anywhere else. Those are the internal talkings right now, and that is probably the day after SmackDown, it will be available on Netflix. But the real nugget here is that starting January 3, the show will be airing at 3 hours. Now, it was added, the plan is for SmackDown to move to 2 hours in June of 2025. WWE's yet to confirm this news. I don't know. I don't know. There's a lot of sentiment around the 3 hours compared to the 2 hours in the community. Me personally, this is just me speaking personally. I don't want to watch a pro wrestling program at 3 hours on a weekly basis on a Monday and a Friday. I just don't. For all these years, man, it's 12 years now we've had to digest Monday Night Raw at 3 hours. And the majority of those years, a good 10 years, I would say 10 and a half, maybe 11 years, most of those shows were terrible. We had to sit through and sift through Monday Night Raw being 3 hours. I came on here as a content creator to talk about the horrendous Monday Night Raw shows that Vince was giving us. And then all of a sudden, Monday Night Raw kind of underwent some internal structure. Obviously, you guys know Paul Levesque took over. The shows have been light years better than they used to be. So 3 hours now is a little bit more digestible because we actually have people running the show that know what the fuck they're doing. Whereas Vince McMahon didn't really care about booking 3 hours. It was a Vince McMahon mixed bag of whatever Vince wanted for 3 hours. SmackDown, on the other hand, at 2 hours was the right kind of sauce. At 2 hours, it was a nice show. It was a lot more digestible. And that was basically a lot of the sentiment with SmackDown. When Roman Reigns was not on SmackDown, when the Bloodline wasn't really doing much on SmackDown, it's a chore to watch. It's a very difficult watch at 2 hours because there's not much going into it. As you know, WWE puts all their eggs into the Bloodline basket or whatever storyline's going on there. They put all their eggs in that basket. And that still rings true today. When Roman's not on the show, when there's no real Bloodline advancement in the story, when there's no real story with Cody, what is SmackDown offering you with 2 hours? Not much in the way of interest. So my question is, right off the bat, if we are moving to 3 hours on Friday nights starting in January, does WWE have the roster depth to give us a SmackDown at 3 hours? Is there going to be a reshuffling of the roster? We don't know. Is there going to be a draft? Is there going to be a supplemental draft maybe to kind of even these rosters out if you're going to make such a bold move like this to move SmackDown to 3 hours? Because I'm telling you right now, they don't have the tag team division to give you a 3 hour show. They don't have the women's division to give you a 3 hour show. They may have more bodies in the women's division than the men's tag team division does, but that doesn't mean all of the women in that women's division are must-see attractions. I don't want another hour of television added where I got to sift through shit I don't care about. I've always been of the mentality quality over quantity. Why can't we build a great 2 hour show and put everything into that 2 hour show instead of giving us a 3 hour show? I understand WWE, USA Network is probably doing this for monetary reasons. USA Network probably is paying for the third hour. They want that 3 hours. That ad revenue is just too much to give up, too good to give up. But at the same time, you're compromising the show. The show already is moving from Fox to the USA Network, where the normal rating for Fox was 2.0, 2.1. On a great week, it was 2.5, 2.6, 2.7. They moved to the USA Network. The rating was 1.7. The rating on USA Network is not going to be what it was on Fox. You add a third hour to that, the rating for SmackDown is going to be in the 1.5s and the 1.6. It's going to be lower because the third hour is always the least watched hour of the entire program. So why are we shifting when there's more cons than negatives? Is the money really that worth it when WWE is making more money hand over fist than anything? Can't we just sit here and say, let's put on a quality product at 2 hours, 3 hours is pushing it. 3 hours is a lot more difficult to book on a week-to-week basis, especially with this roster, which right now is so far less than what Monday Night Raw is delivering on Monday nights. They don't have the depth. Roman's not going to be there every week. Cody right now, unless they give something to Cody that's substantial, it's not lighting the world on fire storyline-wise, week-to-week-wise on SmackDown. He's not. Are we getting call-ups from NXT to offset the roster depth? Like I said, a supplemental draft? Are we going to get trades? Is there going to be a full-blown draft starting in the beginning of the year to go along with these major moves? It would make sense. I don't know. But why does anybody want to watch a 3 hour program, especially when we know SmackDown is the toughest watch of the week for WWE? Why are we going to shift to 3 hours when we know that is only going to harm the brand further and harm it worse than we see it now? I don't get it. Now, WrestleVotes said that Monday Night Raw is shifting back to a 3 hour program. I believe WrestleVotes, to me, they're the most credible source of news in the community. I don't know why they would want to go 3 hours on Raw. I don't. We don't know what Netflix is paying for. We don't know what we're going to get until we get over there. But the rumor was 3 hours. I could see WWE having 3 hours as, all right, this is our limit. If we want to go 3 hours, we'll go 3 hours. If we want to go 2 hours and 25 minutes, depending on the situation, depending on the main event that night, we'll go 2 hours and 25 minutes. Maybe there's a bigger story at play that they want to see play out. Maybe there's a bigger match they want to give more time to. We'll push it to 2 hours and 40 minutes. WWE's got more flexibility on Netflix now because if they want to do 3 hours, they can. If they want to do 2.5 hours, they can. If they want to do a hard stop at 2 hours, we can do that. I hope that's the case. Instead of, yes, we're going to go 3 hours and we're going to make Monday night 3 hours every week. We don't know what the commercials are going to be. We don't know how many commercials are going to be integrated into the show. We don't know what the commercials are going to be just based off the subscription tiers for Netflix. Is it going to be an ad-free experience where we get those WWE vignettes and those promo packages thrown in there? Or are we going to get regular commercials like we see right now on the USA Network? We don't know. We don't know. But I hope that's the case where they have a little bit more flexibility and the 3 hours is the top of the line, but they don't need to adhere to that every single week. 2 hours one week, 2:15 the next, 2:30 the next. I think the flexibility gives the show a lot more breathing room, and it's a lot easier for the creative team to manage and what they want to do on that show. It's easier for them to navigate that way. I don't know. This is going to be a big talking point. Some people say they enjoy the 3 hours. They prefer the 3 hours because WWE's roster is so vast that everybody's going to get an opportunity. If you shift back to 2 hours, a lot of opportunities not going to be given to the talent. I get that argument. I do. But this was never a problem when Triple H ran NXT. His roster was so deep on NXT during the Black and Gold era. He didn't use everybody every single week, but you see what Triple H does, the workings of Triple H on a week-to-week basis. If you don't see someone one week, they're at least on the show in some capacity, whether it's a backstage promo, a vignette, a coming attraction, or someone is placed conveniently, very strategically, subtly in the background, kind of giving you a hint about what's coming or maybe a potential lead to a new storyline, a continuation of a storyline. He always finds a role for someone on television. So I don't know why this would be a problem now. It goes to show you that the community nowadays is made up of a bunch of young idiots who don't really watch pro wrestling on a week-to-week basis. They like what they like and they stick to what they know and they listen to what they want to listen to and they can't listen to any criticism whatsoever. Back in the day, during Triple H's NXT Black and Gold, this was not a problem. This is the same guy that's running the show now. Don't you think he would take some of those methods and ideologies and apply them to what he's doing now? Trust the process. I don't know why this is an argument or a talking point in the community. Give your trust to Triple H. He's already showed you that he's changing the product for the better. Why would you doubt him on something like that? If there's a talent that is just not used on television and there's no use for him on television, they're not going to be used, i.e. Omos. So let's leave it to the creative to manage their roster. I don't think 3 hours because we got to give everybody an opportunity, man. We got to give Indy Hartwell an opportunity. Maybe he should be doing that normally on the 2-hour show. And that is very plausible. It's very doable because he did it before. So it's going to be a very interesting situation to see. SmackDown moving to 3 hours, according to WrestleVotes, in January. Monday Night Raw going back to 3 hours when they move to Netflix. We don't really know that for sure. I think the flexibility there is the best course of action, but we will see what happens there with SmackDown moving to 3 hours in January on the USA Network. Miro has asked for his release from AEW. This is something that I have been waiting for a very long time. I'm sure Miro has been waiting for this for a very long time. And fans of Miro who constantly, weekly ask, Tony, where is Miro? Fightful Select and Sean Ross Sapp have learned that Miro, formerly Rusev, has asked for his AEW release. Miro hasn't wrestled for AEW at all in 2024, which is just a mind-blowing statistic when you kind of read it out loud. Last winning a match at AEW's World End, I was there in the building with Ticket Drew or Andrew Baydala in 2023 on Long Island, which was a very good match. It was a very good match with Andrade. We're told, says Fightful, that Miro was sidelined longer than AEW expected after that match, but has been healthy for quite some time. There was some consideration internally to use him in the All-In Casino Gauntlet match, and he had pitched working with Jon Moxley earlier this year. Miro and AEW were unable to get on the same page creatively, something that became somewhat common for the two sides in recent years. Miro only worked 7 matches for AEW in 2023 and has only wrestled 11 matches since December 2021. Now, Fightful has not learned if Miro was granted his release or if there is interest from WWE. I'm sure there will be. Miro is earning into the 7 figures with AEW. Tony's throwing money around, and he doesn't know where his money is allocated. That's what it sounds like to me. I mean, if you got someone like that, he's ready to go. I don't know why his creative team isn't fucking, let's get this guy back on television. Miro had signed the contract upon joining AEW in September 2020. That was set to expire in the spring of 2022. However, he signed a 4-year extension around that time. That could still have him with AEW until the spring of 2026. You know, there is, listen, I want to start off and say I am a fan of Miro, a big fan of Miro. I think Miro is fantastic. We've heard rumors that Miro doesn't want to work with the young kids in AEW. He doesn't want to put anybody over. He's been very selfish. I've heard these rumors. I've seen these rumors. I've read these rumors. We don't know if that's true or not. We don't. Is that the case? It very well may be, but we don't really know for sure. I've also heard rumors that Miro is very protective over what he does, over his gimmick, over his presentation, over how he wants to be handled, over who he wants to work with. That's fine. I respect that. You put a lot of equity in who you are, built who you are, want this new version of yourself to be better than the last version of yourself. I completely understand that. But you got to work within the boundaries of AEW. We don't know where Miro's mindset is at. If that's the case, if that last point is the case, and Miro is very protective over his character in AEW, over what he's built for himself, over his presentation in AEW. My first question is, if that's the case, does Miro even trust at this point Tony Khan to do right by what he thinks is right for his character? I would say the answer to that is no. Would you? After what you've seen, Miro, I'm sure, keeps close eyes on what's going on. I mean, he's employed there. He's being paid there, so I'm sure he knows, keeps an eye on what's going on. You think Miro sees the decline in the ratings and the fan attendance and the interest and attendance, no matter where they go? You think Miro was looking at this and say, gee, man, should I trust this guy with my intellectual property? Should I trust this guy creatively to book for me when the majority of the fans online are just not happy with what's going on right now? Do I want to be back here? Do I want to sit in this locker room where it's the wild, wild west and I got Tony Khan who doesn't know how to manage himself out of a fucking plastic bag or create or write stories compelling week to week? Do I want to be a part of that? You got to ask yourself these questions. I don't know. But I know if I'm Miro, I'm asking myself those questions. So he is probably very protective over what he's done, and a trust in Tony Khan might not be there. I'm a fan of Miro. You're a fan of Miro, I'm sure. I believe Miro's got a lot left in the tank. Is he injury prone? Could be. He could be injury prone. I don't know. He's been out. Some of it we know. Most of it we don't. I do know he's gone through a divorce. I do know that he's stayed in Bulgaria for a long stint of time. Did he have family issues? Is his heart even in pro wrestling anymore? We don't know. How much of that divorce sucked the soul out of Miro? I'm sure it did. It would do that to any man, any normal human being. He probably had pro wrestling as the last thing on his list of priorities. We don't know. We don't know. Tony afforded him the time away. But even when Miro was there, he wasn't really getting the great creative that we thought Tony would give someone like Miro. I know Tony heard the reactions when Miro came out. I know Tony sees the reactions from fans online. Where's Miro? Where's Miro? Where's Wardlow? Where's Ricky Starks? These are the guys we want to see on television. These are the guys that we thought were going to be pushed to the upper echelon of AEW. It's the reason why you brought them in. He hasn't really done much with Miro when he was even on television. So why would Miro want to be back there? I don't trust Tony Khan as far as I could fucking throw him. And Miro probably thinks the same way. But there is probably a lot of internal workings there as to why Miro's not on television, personal reasons why Miro's not on television. Then you mix that with the creative aspect and him potentially not trusting Tony Khan and not really liking what they've given him. I don't know. But from what I see, what I hear, from what I read, Miro, if he doesn't want to be there, he's asked for his release. Clearly, he doesn't want to be there. If he does not want to be there, then Tony Khan should let him go. Tony Khan has many more things to worry about than little old Miro, who he's not using right now. He's healthy and ready to go. Come up with something for this guy. If you want him on television, you would put him on television and work vigorously to get him on television in something that works. They've not done that. They may have done that a little bit, but they really haven't gone out of their way to say, guys, we got to write for Miro. I want Miro back on television. They haven't done that. Point blank, they haven't done that. So Miro asked for his release. If Miro doesn't want to be there, then get rid of him. Grant him his release. You're paying him 7 figures according to the Fightful Select report. 7 figures for what? To sit at home and have fans ask, where's Miro? Where's Miro? Where's Miro? That's 7 figures that could go to hiring 6 more creative writers. That's 7 figures that could bump up production, buy a couple of new cameras, some fancy new 4K cameras. That's 7 figures that could be put away to sign another free agent talent coming on into the company that you want to creatively write for. Why are we throwing money down the drain on people that don't want to be there, and worst case, people that you don't want to write for, that aren't a priority to you? It's mind-boggling to me how Tony's got all this money and he just pisses it away. How much of that money does he even know is allocated to someone like Miro? Does he realize what he's paying Miro? Does he realize is the money that he's just pissing down the fucking toilet when he's got Miro sitting on the roster? He asked for his release. Let him go. If you don't want to be there, let him go. Does it set a bad precedent if you do? Some people might say, sure, it sets a bad precedent because the next guy's going to ask for his release and everybody who doesn't want to be there is going to ask for their release. Good. If you don't want to be there, let them go. Point blank. Why do you want people employed to your roster? You wasting money on these people to keep them there. Why are you keeping people on your roster that don't want to be a part of your company and help your company grow? I don't understand it. I don't get it. WWE's not going to scoop everybody up. They can't. They're in a situation right now where they're looking to lock the names that they currently have down. Somewhat of a reported 15 names that they're looking to lock down to keep on their roster. They've done their free agent signings. Julia, they're not done. I don't know who else is going to be coming on in. Julia, the Machine Guns, the Lucha Brothers. They scooped all these names up. Don't know what's going to happen with them. Don't know where they're going to be used, but they scooped them up. Daniel Garcia is another one. Apparently they're foaming at the mouth to sign Daniel Garcia. Ricky Starks is coming on in. Does WWE pick up Wardlow when he potentially becomes a free agent? I don't know. Not everybody's going to go back to WWE. Not everybody can go back to WWE. Where's the current administration going to think of Miro? Being that he left and went to AEW. Are they going to take him back and welcome him back with open arms? See, the thing about the Redeemer character is, yes, it's got a lot of life left in it. The promos and the vignettes for Miro were fantastic. His presentation on television was easily one of the highlights of the show. You saw that and the rest of the show, and the one thing that always stuck out was Miro. Miro was on the show. Always loved the Miro promo. Always loved the Miro vignette. He's got that monster-like attitude that brings a sense of believability to anything that he does. He's very good in the ring. He's a very good promo. He speaks very well, and the fans appreciate who he is and what he brings to their shows. Why wouldn't you want him on your roster? I'm thinking WWE. Maybe, if Tony lets him go. Tony has been very good. Granted, Tony has done a lot of wrong. Tony has been very good of letting people go. He let Ray Phoenix go early. He was not going to add time on top of Ray Phoenix's contract due to injury. He let Phoenix and Penta go to WWE. That's what they wanted to do. Tony was a good man and did the right thing business-wise. Do the right thing here business-wise. Miro going back to WWE? Sure, I think a lot of people would like to see that. You know what I'm already thinking about? Just kind of getting, great creative mind flowing. Miro versus Bronson Reed. That's what I'm thinking about. Miro versus Gunther. Those are the things I'm thinking about. Legitimately. If AEW wants to use Miro, I don't know where their Shane McMahon storyline's going. I don't know if Shane McMahon's coming on in, if he's aligning himself with the Blackpool Combat Club, John Moxley, and all these ex-WWE guys, Marina and Pac and Claudio. Miro would fit like a fucking glove in that storyline if that is the case. Why aren't we writing for him to be a part of that? Honestly, he would fit like a fucking glove in that group, especially if Shane's coming in and the correlation there is all ex-WWE guys. Why not? Have they even thought of that? Who knows? They might have. I don't know. But if WWE wants Miro, then Tony should let Miro walk. If Miro does not want to be there, being that he asked for his release, Tony should let him go. And that goes for everybody. If you don't want to be there, speak up and let me let you go. I don't want anybody on my roster that doesn't want to help the growth of All Elite Wrestling. Plain and simple. Said this for months, years. If you don't want to be there, goodbye. John Cena. We all know John Cena's retirement tour is happening in 2025. It is something I am incredibly interested in. How they handle it, who he works against. Is he going after 17? Who his opponent on that January 6th Raw is going to be. Who his last opponent's going to be. Who his WrestleMania opponent is going to be. We'll figure it out. So, John Cena's retirement from in-ring competition was announced at Money in the Bank earlier this summer. And this has led fans to speculate about potential matches and feuds for John Cena in 25. Royal Rumble, Elimination Chamber, and WrestleMania will mark his last for those events. Cena aims to wrestle all year, targeting 36 dates with the company. He will also be on Netflix for the first episode of Raw. He will wrap up his career. I'm assuming they just announced Saturday night's main event. They will probably air his last match in December on a Saturday night's main event. That would be poetic. Potential match with Logan Paul has been speculated about as both sides have spoken highly of each other. Logan Paul had previously made headlines noting on his Impulsive podcast he wants a match with John Cena and even went to Triple H to ask for such match at a WrestleMania. WrestleVotes Radio, they said that on the first episode that within WWE Creative, or on first episode of their radio show, that within WWE Creative and both parties are 100% interested in a potential big money match with two big-time stars who most people know. WrestleVotes added that Logan Paul's name is definitely high on this list. A lot of speculation is John Cena going to win the Royal Rumble? Is he going after 17 at WrestleMania? The answer is no. John Cena hasn't won a match in a very long time. That's the story you have to tell. That's the story you need to get through and navigate through before he gets to any type of let's go after number 17 title talk. WrestleMania should be the destination in which he wins his first match back at WWE in 2025. The last time we saw him, he received 4 Samoan spikes from Solo Sikoa. That was the last we saw of John Cena. I think coming out of that, he needs to reassess, try and get a win, get in the win column, and try and beat that, because that is a heavy burden on John Cena. He loses. He doesn't get the Royal Rumble. He doesn't win the Chamber. He's got no hope going into WrestleMania. And then we get Logan Paul. We get Logan Paul coming out of nowhere, and Logan Paul's already stated numerous times to no matter who it is, on television, to Cody, to Kevin Nash on Instagram and Twitter. Logan Paul believes he is one of the best athletes in all of WWE, and if he did this full time, he'd be the best in the WWE over everybody. Someone as cocky as Logan Paul, someone as arrogant as Logan Paul. Can you imagine John Cena on a losing streak and then having to deal with this punk kid Logan Paul who is downplaying John Cena's career, hustle, loyalty, and respect, the hard work that Cena's put into his career, downplaying his retirement, telling him to go. The industry has passed you by. The industry is all about people like me. Imagine Logan Paul just egging him on. I can beat you. I'm better than you. I'll show you I'm better than you've been in your 20-year career. It's a WrestleMania match right there. That's the foundation for a WrestleMania match right there. John Cena versus Logan Paul, WrestleMania 41 in Las Vegas. Cena gets his win over Logan Paul, and then he begins the climb to number 17 for the World Heavyweight Championship and Gunther at SummerSlam. That's what I'm thinking about. That's the way to go. I originally stated that Randy Orton and John Cena would be the way to go. It's a great match. For a WrestleMania, they'd never wrestled one-on-one at WrestleMania. But I think a lot of people now are starting to open their eyes to Logan Paul, me included. And I think John Cena versus Randy Orton would probably be the best match for John Cena to end with. It's either him or CM Punk, one or the other. You could do Punk on the Open for Netflix, and then you could do the Orton match at the last Saturday night's main event. I think that's the way to go. Punk, Gunther, Logan Paul. I would love to see another match with AJ Styles. I don't know. Cody. Those are 5 matches just right off the top of my head I'd like to see with John Cena, if he can remain healthy. Hopefully we don't have any disastrous injuries that take John Cena away from us, and we got to do this all over again in 26. But I'm thinking Logan Paul is at the top of the list right now for John Cena and WrestleMania 41. Let me know what you guys think about that. I think that is the way to go. Thank you guys very much for all your support, man. What a great show. What a great discussion here today. If you enjoyed it, please hit that thumbs up. Hit that subscribe button down below and turn on the bell for all notifications. I'll be back live tonight with the Friday Night SmackDown post right here on Off the Script. And in its entirety, I've uploaded the entire explosive rant on AEW, Will Ospreay, Ricochet, happening so soon on their 5-year anniversary show. That entire clip from Wednesday's stream is now on the second channel. Go and check it out. If you missed it and you want to digest just that, it is there for you guys to fully enjoy in its glorious entirety, man. So let me know what you guys think about that. And please, if you are over there, hit that subscribe button over there as well. Tonight, guys, live after SmackDown right here on Off the Script. I'll see you later.